We shall now have the inaugural address by Dr. R. Chidambaram, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. Dr. R. Chidambaram is Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India and was formerly Director of India's primary nuclear research center, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, BARC. He was also Chairman, Atomic Energy Commission, and Secretary to the Government of India in the Department of Atomic Energy. He is one of India's most distinguished experimental physicists, and the research groups established by him in BARC in the fields of high pressure physics and neutron crystallography are recognized among the best in the world. He has made exemplary contributions to the progress of nuclear science and technology and has played a leadership role towards development of strategically important programs on advanced technologies. He is a recipient of a number of awards and honors, including the Padma Vibhushan Award and Padma Shri Award by the President of India. May I request Dr. R. Chidambaram to kindly deliver the inaugural address. Thank you.
Keep the title. Dr. Baldev Raj, Dr. T. Ramaswamy, Dr. Rene Denika, Dr. Ellen Sharma, distinguished invitees from India and abroad, among whom I see the President of INSA, Dr. Krishan Lal, fellows of INAE and friends. It's a great pleasure and privilege to be here for the inaugural function, and I thank my friend Dr. Baldev Raj. Keep the lights on for a while. Thank you for this Silver Jubilee inaugural function. My office has been working quite closely with the INAE, and we had a report prepared by Dr. R.V. Raghavan on the impact of R&D on the chemical industry. So it was an excellent report talking about basic chemicals, specialty chemicals, knowledge chemicals, and how much R&D is going into this, and giving a kind of a roadmap how to take it further. Now, I'm also very happy that as part of your Silver Jubilee celebrations, you are going to have a meeting sometime in September on the importance of the innovation ecosystem in India, how to take it forward. Over the last decade and more, innovation has become a buzzword, though one must clearly understand what exactly do we mean by innovation and innovation ecosystem. In fact, the Government of India has declared this decade as the decade of innovation. I must also mention here what your President said, that we are meeting on a day after a very major technological achievement, the perfect launch, successful launch of Agni 5, which is really a symptom of India's technological development. But I must also mention here as I said in your INA meeting in Kalpakkam some time back, that national development and national security are two sides of the same coin. Development without security is vulnerable. Security without development is of course meaningless. And I'm sure there's no doubt the way India is progressing, science and technology is progressing, we are going to hear of many more such achievements in the years to come. What I thought I will talk to you today is about science, engineering, innovation, and also the research infrastructure which is rapidly evolving in India. The National Knowledge Network, the optical fiber network which the Prime Minister wants, all the knowledge institutions in India to be connected. And this is a network which is going to impact very heavily, it's already impacting the way we do science, engineering or innovation. Now, of course, the borders between these three terms is somewhat fuzzy. If you do a Google search on what people have said about science and engineering, multiple definitions. So there is no single definition. One can say scientists create ideas, particularly about nature, trying to understand nature. Engineers create products which have not been done before, and innovators create wealth. Researchers create knowledge, and innovators add value to knowledge, economic value, strategic value, or societal benefit to knowledge. But the borders between them are fuzzy. In my opinion, every researcher is in a mix in different proportions of scientist, engineer and innovator. There's nothing like a pure innovator. For example, we have Dr. Krishan Lal here. In the old days when we were both of us were doing crystallography, he made one of the most precise diffractometers. And he used to tell me about silicon without a single dislocation, if I remember right. Now the kind of experimental equipment that he built in National Physical Lab is really engineering. It requires tremendous amount of engineering skill to build that kind of. And you are going to hear a lecture by my friend Dr. P. Ramarao, who was my classmate in college. He is a physics postgraduate. He drifted into metallurgy, or he went into metallurgy. I've always wondered whether metallurgy is a science or engineering. Metallurgy is one thing, one leg here and one leg there. And these are people like our friend Baldev Raj, who can talk engineering with engineers, and he can talk science with physicists like me, and he is equally comprehensible. And you know, if you look at history, when Raman discovered the Raman effect, very cheap experiment, of course the ideas were there, and a physicist was enough. But today when they are looking for the Higgs boson, and they have built a multi-billion-dollar Large Hadron Collider, in which we are a member of this LHC. We have also contributed 1,000 superconducting sextupole magnets and decapole magnets, some advanced control software, something like $40-50 million worth of equipment which has gone into this machine. It requires a lot of engineering support. Physicists require heavy engineering support today if they want to do any advanced experiment. You can say, I'm using the synchrotron radiation source. There are many of them available around the world. We have our own in Indore. But to build that, it requires skills in a variety of engineering subjects. In a similar way, if you want to do engineering, you must have the backup in the background of scientists who can give you ideas, solve some problems, or make various kinds of contributions. Now, success in research as well as technology development, we need collaboration, both national and international. The word multidisciplinary, and some of those disciplines go from science to engineering. You have got biotechnology. In physics, we have got applied physics. We have got what we call technical physics in the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. There used to be a course called engineering physics in IIT Bombay and other places, which was hugely popular. But I don't know what is the situation now, but it was very, very popular. And for collaboration, you need not only physical connectivity, but also this electronic connectivity. That's why the e-science infrastructure in a country is so important. Now, if you take this chain, research, development, and delivery, we have a large S&T system in India, and much of it is controlled by Dr. Ramsamy, Department of Science and Technology. And at the same time, and this will be nurtured, the government is very strong. In fact, the Prime Minister has declared the coming year, this financial year, as the year of science. At the same time, the demand for using the generated knowledge, or in fact globally available knowledge, for industrial development and societal benefit, particularly rural development, is also increasing. And we have to have somewhat different approaches. In the case of industrial development, as this Kenan Sahin said from MIT, academic institutions are good in research, they are poor in development, and practically zero in delivery, by and large. Industry is very good in delivery, poor in development, and zero in research, by and large. Of course, you can say Bell Labs, General Electric, and there are also examples which are there, which are contrary to the statement. But by and large, we have a system in which academic institutions are good in research, industry is good in delivery, and both are weak in development. That is why we need to have enhanced academia-industry interactions. Of course, we must also have in-house R&D centers, and this is beginning to grow. I inaugurated the Aditya Birla R&D Center in Bombay by the Kumar Mangalam Birla Group. A very beautiful thing. They have got in-house R&D covering cement and aluminum and so many other areas. In the case of rural development, knowledge is there, but somehow it is not getting delivered to the people who need it. And that is why many mechanisms, including the Rural Technology Action Group for my office, focuses. Of course, it requires any new knowledge, but by and large, the requirement is for technology delivery. Today's India, I think, is too large a country to absent itself from any field of science and technology. But how much it invests in any field at any point of time requires wisdom. And sometimes we have this debate about small science and big science. I think it is completely irrelevant in today's India. We need big technology missions. Agni 5 is an example of that. But even here, you may claim you are doing science, small science, but you are using a synchrotron radiation source, which can be built only by, it has to be engineered very precisely. In fact, everything is now getting heavily cross-linked. Look at the system, and you see it's beginning to happen. Ministry of Earth Sciences, Dr. Shailesh Nayak gave this. This requires both science and engineering to be able to have this Indian tsunami warning system, or the space applications in a variety of areas. There's agriculture, fisheries, monitoring, irrigation, wasteland monitoring, watershed monitoring, all this. It requires both ideas which come from scientists and then of course engineering. Here is one example which is from my office, in which BRC was involved for rural development. The problem they had in Uttarakhand was that when they do rainwater harvesting up on the hills, what they call the khals, the water seeps through broken rock to reach the aquifers. But what Anil Joshi told me was that when they build these khals, they are not aware, they are not sure whether the water will reach useful aquifers or will it run away to useless places. Then we said we have an excellent group on isotope hydrology in the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. So what they did was, when it goes through broken rock, the isotopes fraction it. You bring in radioactive counting, you bring in mass spectrometry, and these people were able to track the way the water is flowing, and they put the subsurface dikes at the right point, and then the average recharge of the aquifers in the Gauchar area of Uttarakhand has gone up by 3 times. Now the government is multiplying this at 6 places. We are, with the help of the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, we are setting up a kind of laboratory. We're setting up a laboratory in Dehradun. Now here also you see a lot of science and a lot of engineering gets mixed up here. Desalination, nuclear desalination, and the one which is attached to the Kalpakam plant using both reverse osmosis and multi-stage flash is the biggest hybrid plant in the world today. And Baldevraj is here. You may remember when both of us were members of, or still are, I think, we still are, Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences. Dr. Asha Kishore there, he works on movement disorders, facial twitching, or you have Parkinson's and all that. And Dr. Baldevraj said, look, we measure minute movements, seismic, because in case of an earthquake, you want to shut down a reactor. And so what the Indira Gandhi Center people did was to bring in the seismic detection techniques, and they wear a glove and any of this, and we're bringing an IIT so it can make a chip which can transmit the data over there. Other than energy, as Dr. Rene Dandikar said, that we are looking for technologies which are carbon free or emit minimum carbon dioxide, and possibilities fusion in the long term. And we are a member of this International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor in Kadarash. But whatever we say, coal is going to be with us, fossil fuels for a long time, next 20-30 years. Most of our growth in energy production, electricity production is going to come from coal. But here what we should do is, at least for every megawatt that you produce, minimize the amount of carbon dioxide that you emit. And the higher the temperature of the steam that you produce, 700 degrees, American stock of 760, then the lower will be the amount of carbon dioxide per megawatt. And in fact, Dr. Baldevraj was the director of IGCAR at that time. See, the nuclear people have some of the best technologies which are useful even for renewable energy. Because when you break it down in renewable, it's either thermal engineering, or it is materials, or it is computational fluid dynamics, if we talk of wind. And some of the best technologies are available there. That's why in a report we wrote for the International Atomic Energy Agency, we said that these people should be involved in this kind of other energy technologies. So here we want to build, and really we are in the design stage. Nobody in the world has built it yet, but many people are ahead of us. An advanced ultra supercritical thermal power plant, in which it is a materials problem, and a unfriendly environment in nuclear reactors is in fast reactors. So Indira Gandhi Center will bring in it's already happening, along with the materials such Midhani at Hyderabad. And of course BHEL will produce the equipment, biggest power engineering equipment manufacturers and the biggest utility. We have brought them together through an MOU, and R&D on this has started. See, this is what I said during the Aditya Birla Group thing, inauguration, R&D center. Companies must of course do in-house R&D, whatever they can do. Even if they get technology transfer so that they are not taken for a ride, they should involve the academic people for technology assessment. Make sure the academic institutions, though they may not be good in producing commercial products, they are good in understanding what is the technology and use them for getting the best technology available. Or they may even be aware that components of this can be done in this country. Then you get supportive applied research, and we are also trying to promote what we call pre-competitive applied research. That is when it comes to generic technologies. Not proprietary technologies, the business of the company, but when it comes to generic technologies like combustion research or alternate fuels or lightweight alloys or hydroforming. Sundarajan is here. He is very much involved in some of these things in the automotive sector, whereas a consortia of academic institutions and industry. And then of course you must back it up by what I call directed basic research. In addition, which we must do, the highest intellects in a country must be allowed to work on fundamental problems of their choice. We must also look at problems like ultimate structure of matter, like LHC, CERN is doing, or what is dark matter, what is the origin of the universe and all that. But in addition, create a pool of knowledge in areas which technology foresight analysis tells you is important for India in the long term. That's what I call directed basic research. Still basic research. And come to innovation, there are contrasting views which are emerging. This is a new book by Gertner about Bell Labs Idea Factory. Dr. U.B. Desai sent me from IIT Hyderabad, Director of IIT Hyderabad. What he says is the lesson of Bell Labs is that most feats of sustained innovation occur when people of diverse talents and mindsets and expertise are brought together, preferably in close proximity. And the willingness to nurture theoretical research in conjunction with applied science and manufacturing skills. And this is what led to the success of Bell Labs. And he's saying such idea factories are now beginning to disappear. This is one kind of view. The other view from Kenan Sahin, whom I quoted a little while earlier, the problem is innovations are there, but there is a big backlog. The mechanisms of converting these things into useful commercial or socially relevant projects, implementing them as eroded. However, there is little doubt that you have to mix fundamental science, applied research, and also of course manufacturing skills. They have to coexist if you want to have a sustained innovation producing system. Otherwise, short term you may not feel the absence of it. If you back away from science, you are going to be hurt in the long term. Now, this is where connectivity becomes important, the e-science infrastructure. Now, we had a large number of such initiatives. We all started with the EarNet in 1986. But now, and then we NICNet, Atomic Energy, AnuNet, SpaceNet, and so on. Then there are regional things. We have also a worldwide Large Hadron Collider Grid. Which is one of the best examples of grid computing. Now, of course, we have gone to cloud computing, web services. Now the scenario has changed drastically with NKN coming in, and also many of these, what I have showed by an asterisk, have either migrated to NKN or have integrated with the NKN. NKN is an all optical fiber, multi-gigabit per second, scalable. See, the core backbone is now 2.5, 10 gigs, but it's going to be raised to 40 and 100. And you've got 1,500 edge institutions which will get connected to it at 1 gigabit per second. And about more than half are connected. And this is one, it was proposed by my office and the National Knowledge Commission of Mr. Sam Petrora. And this has been sanctioned by the government, 6,000 crore project. And NIC is the implementing agency. We carefully designed the logo for this. When you say the first N in blue, that means we are also interested in blue sky research in this area, because it's not a static technology. We put a green there at the second N because this is a green technology. Instead of traveling by air, you can do a global teleconferencing, that much of aviation fuel you save. And if you look at it with some imagination, you can see KI there. That means it's for knowledge integration. Knowledge integration also across international borders. This is one project on which we started, thanks to the finance minister giving us 100 crores before the project was approved by the government, by the cabinet. So you can't always say bureaucracy is slow. They allowed us to start it off. The president inaugurated it. See, in April 2009, because we got 100 crores in 2008 budget. But formally, after cabinet approval, it was launched last year. This is the way it will look. There is what we call a POP. There is a backbone. There are 89 backbone links, and from each one of those links you will go to the edge institution, and out of those 1,500, 774 are already connected. People like R.S. Mani of the National Informatics Center, they are doing a marvelous job, and his colleagues. And we have taken up a number of model projects, virtual classrooms. Professor in IIT Madras, the students are in IIT Hyderabad. When we started the new IITs, and then you can have a grid for any specialty. We have a brain grid. People, Prasun Roy is here from NBRC. He was telling me that this kind of connection between people working in a super specialized area, sharing information. In this case, clinical data, MRI images and other images which can be shared. You have a cancer grid, you have a grid for climate change. These are all coming as model projects on this. So NKN, as I said, is an integral part of the e-science infrastructure. You can use it for medicine, climate change, brain grid. And my friend in BRC, Husur, is able to access the European synchrotron source in Grenoble sitting in Bombay, because we have very strong connectivity between NKN now and the European Union grid. Started with CERN, now it has gone across. This is the way. See, these are the guys sitting in Bombay, Homi Bhabha National Institute, and this is actually a virtual lab. They send their crystals. Of course, the facility must have a robotics arm, takes the crystal, brings to the X-ray beam line, and then they select which crystal gives the best diffraction data. Select the crystal, then all the data comes streaming in. A lot of data is going to come from the 4 detectors in the Large Hadron Collider because of the CERN connectivity, and you can't have it unless you have a multi-gigabit per second optical fiber network. And this is the neuroinformatics thing which I mentioned to you about when I visited McGill, and Montreal has one of the best neurological institutes. They are talking of what they call a C-brain, sharing on Alzheimer's, dementia and all that, MRI images or whatever other images among the institutions. They call it the C-brain. So I said, if you have the C-brain, I'll have my I-brain, India brain. So we got the connection here, and they seem to know very well, these people here, the National Brain Research Center. Roy is a fellow, I was told, Prasanna Kumar, and it is beginning to do well, and the DBT is also supporting the kind of money that's involved in digitizing all these images. So let me come to the end. In the ultimate analysis, and in my slide here, when I say the word science, I mean scientists and engineers. In BRC, we don't distinguish between scientists and engineers. I'm using in that term. In the ultimate analysis, science is not done by committees or by conferences. Science is done by scientists. And the worry we have is at the 10+2 stage, those who are highly talented in science are not staying in science but are going to engineering, professional courses. And to keep them in science, DST has an excellent program. We have been talking about it for a long time, attracting young people to careers in science. But under the leadership of Dr. Ramaswamy, this INSPIRE program has come now, right from the middle and high schools up to postdoctoral level, where you can get a faculty position. And understand the 640,000 awards, of course, it decreases as you go up, has have now been, these awards have been given. The second hemorrhage, which is more for engineering, takes place at the BTech, MTech level. People who have obvious talent for engineering, research and technology talent development go over for jobs or management and all that. And I remember after a brainstorming session 5-6 years back, and JJ Irani, what we suggested was, when leading companies go for placement interviews, the creamy layer among the guys they have selected, let them be paid job salaries, but let them do research, so that they do what they want to do and they are under no pressure to earn more than that. The greatest advantage here is, see, when two academics talk to each other, they tell one another everything. Because academics and professors by nature are exhibitionists. They want to show off their knowledge. By definition, otherwise why do you give lectures? But let two companies talk to one another, they tell each other nothing. Commercial reasons, IP protection or whatever it is. And when these two professors are talking, your young guy is listening. And subconsciously he is loyal to you. There should be no bond, there should be nothing. But what Dr. Irani told me was that something is happening in Tata's. They have started to do this. But I think this is one way of getting the most talented in engineering research, retain them in engineering research. Because in 10 years, India is going to be different. An IIT professor, Rangan Banerjee, one of his presentations was saying that it takes 8 years to produce the kind of, see, it's not just a PhD. It's not a question, I want so many PhDs. PhDs mean nothing. At least this only shows you a capability. But what we want is PhDs in the areas in which we are interested, in which India is likely to be a leader in the long term. And to do that, the professor must be given 5 to 8 years time to prepare the people for you. Suddenly you ask in a remote or in a very specialized area of engineering, a PhD, there will be no PhD. That's why the Bach Training School program has been so successful. And there I used to use the term PhD or equivalent. PhD, as I said, is just a label. What we are looking for is people with that capability to do engineering research. And the companies here must select professors who can become their partners. The student they take from companies should be no different from any other student of the professor. And it's not problem solving for the company. It should be in a broad area of interest to the company. And among these, there are those who are gifted. I'm talking more of science now. And my office has a project with NIAS under Dr. Ramamurthy. See, there's a difference between talented and gifted. Talented are those whose innate abilities have already been expressed in achievements. Gifted are those where this has not yet happened. And you have to look at it from a very early age. Giftedness in music and sports is easily visible. Giftedness in science and mathematics is not so visible. And even among those, there are those who are moderately gifted, highly gifted, profoundly gifted, to which I have added profoundly and selectively gifted. Today's Ramanujam will not pass any joint entrance exam or any kind of entrance exam. And this data is available. So they are doing how to identify and nurture such people. And they have brought in even urban secondary school as well as rural primary and secondary school. And University of Connecticut has done a lot of work on this area. So so these are things which are happening, and I think I wish you all the best to the Academy of Engineering in the years to come, particularly on this your Silver Jubilee function day. Thank you very much.